because we're gonna finish that point. But to the point you were making about like people receiving new information and then being able to like flip and say like, hey, I was wrong about this. Did you guys catch how the BLM founders were caught misusing money?
No.
So there was apparently it's like 3 or 4 women or something like that are like in charge of the movement, and they got I think they're currently being sued, but they got caught stealing like $20 million from the movement, from like the funds or whatever, and they bought houses and shit in California.
Yeah,
and
it says here, BLM's millions unaccounted for after leaders quietly jumped ship. This happened at the beginning of the year. It's like no one appears to have been in charge at Black Lives Matter for months, and about $6 million house was bought with their money. With the money that people like were donating to the Black Lives Matter. And then there was like a lot of allegations after that about how like the leaders of the movement did not help like the BLM on the streets, like how they weren't giving any like financial help, how they weren't like, you know, supporting like the actual grassroots on the ground like movements that were like planning marches or planning like, you know, things like that. And so they were heavily criticizing those women. And they just this was about a couple, maybe like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago.
Conservative media was like on a rampage about how BLM was always a fraud and how this and that, like, and to that point, before, you know, we'll finish it off, but to that point, both those things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
Both BLM could have started with honest and noble intentions, and then the actions of 2 or 3 people can be damaging to themselves, and they can be horrible people. But the cause in and of itself can still be a noble cause. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird that people only work in that dichotomy. Like you're either this all the time or you're that all the time. And like no, like BLM and you know, Black Lives Matter and what it stands for is still a great thing to stand for. It just so happens that their leaders are pieces of shit, and both those things can be true at the same time. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Because they were apparently they bought a $6 million home in California, and they were defending it. They're like, oh, we don't think that was like a wrong way to use the money. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean you don't think that was a wrong way to use the money? Why are you buying a house? They were saying that it's not, because in the paperwork apparently it said that they were using the house itself as like for meetings, like they were using it as a work expense. Yeah, they called it like campus. Yeah, like they were using it as a work expense. But like, and they were using it like for their social media videos. They would like highlight, like be in the house or whatever, but like none of that shit ever happened. Yeah, bro, you can literally buy like,
but like, why not buy a storefront, or why not buy a
warehouse, bro?
Why not have like just have like
stuff there?
Like, I mean, like the home office in some building, and like
generational wealth.
You know, but to that point, that's why I say like both those things can be true at the same time. Yeah. Both the cause in and of itself can be a great cause to stand for, and then the other, and then so
that sounded like sorry,
and then the people can be pieces of shit. And the only reason I say that is because I would say that about like if we all of a sudden found out like that a breast cancer foundation was misusing funds.
Yeah, like what we're gonna be like what we're gonna be like
breast
cancer, like that shit never mattered.
Was a fraud from the beginning. Like nah, bro. Like the cause in and of itself, I would still donate to again. It just so happens that the leadership that they put were pieces of shit. We need to change the leadership. Yeah, and that's the reason that but like, of course, conservative media was on fire
would never do that
about how like, oh, you see, we told you BLM was shit. BLM was not something that you should have stood for in the first place. Like they were going ham, and I was like, oh my God, it's so annoying.
The fact that whatever.
But to the previous point, I'm not buying the argument of like we're being conditioned to only have this attention span so that like we don't revolt. Yeah, I just think it's a money thing.
I think social media has worked as like a huge like tool for like
our generation thinks that, but I do think that the younger generation does not think the way we do. So,
but I disagree, and I feel, but also the younger generation are children right now. You know what I mean? It's like that's really hard to like apply it to them, because it's like your kids, you're like, you don't know what you're doing. You know, whenever I was 16 or 15 or however old, I was obviously not, you know, like my morals, the way that I viewed the world and the way that I would approach like a lot of these like issues, like social issues, is very different than like how I would approach them at 23.
I also don't think it's a bad thing. I also don't think it's a bad thing for them to not think the way that we do. Because if anything, I'd be concerned if they thought the way that we did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we don't think like our parents.
Yeah.
And they're, in a way, maybe implicitly, they're depending on us to not think the way they did so that we can fix the shit that they got wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But y'all fucked up the economy and shit, so like we can't fix it because y'all won't let us. But anyway, like,
thank you.
So in a way, we need to do the same thing to the next generation. Like, don't think like we do, because we didn't know what Twitter. We did Twitter. We did MySpace. We did.
We did in MySpace.
You know what I mean? Like we changed the world. You will change it too. Who knows where you're gonna take it?
For better, for worse.
Right, for better, for worse. Who knows where you're gonna take it? And you're gonna make mistakes, and the generation after that will hopefully round out the edges of those sharp edges that you got.
Society,
you know what I mean?
Always works.
But it is scary though. But in the same way that social media scared the previous generation about like how close we would be, how easy it was, how easy access we would have to like debauchery and porn and like all this crazy shit that they were scared of.
Girl, the fact that porn was like their biggest concern,
right?
Bitch.
Like y'all didn't even know.
That was your biggest concern.
But
it's like OnlyFans.
It's the
same. Everybody lost their shit when porn was taken off of Tumblr, so. Maybe they had a porn.
I
For real.
He lost my shit when I was like, because I would be on Tumblr all the time.
Deadass. I was like,
why are you taking away the
I have to go on Pornhub like
that
a
was the worst move for Tumblr.
Like I'm not doing that.
Like please, let me just
you guys. This was like my cover.
I'm not putting up my fucking private fucking Safari page. I just want to fucking watch my soft
Tumblr porn.
That's why somebody was like, if they take off porn off of Twitter, like that's it. Like
it's
revolting.
Like the short, like
Elon Musk won't do that.
Was great. He definitely should not do that.
No, so
just like can rich people should like
in that same way, I still bring porn back to Tumblr, but in the same way that like they were scared of that shit, I look at AI and I'm like, yo, this is kind of scary. Like this is like wild, right? But I'm sure there might be some great things that come out of it that like the next generation will be very inventive and be like, yo, that shit was wild. Kill it. Like go and run with it. You will revolutionize the world. But I think that they should think differently. And you know what I mean? And who knows, maybe 2 generations from now, somebody might be like, yo, all of y'all were bugging. No more social media for nobody. We need to go back to like, you stay in your own in your lane, in your little city, and your bunch of that. No more, like none of that shit. Who knows? Maybe that'll be what, like, you know, what's best for everybody. But for now, like, I'm totally cool with like the next generation being on like some tomfoolery and like, you know what I mean? On some shenanigans. Like, I'm all for it because I'm like, yo, do it. Go do it. Like,
it's your turn.
Shit is miserable out here. Go and have a blast. You know?
Make shit up.
Yeah, fuck it up.
Fuck it up.
Fuck it up.
Fuck it up.
Yeah. Like we did yesterday.
I can't.
Fucking fun.
I mean,
yo, y'all really you really felt bad today in the morning.
I'm just like, I woke up and I was like, I was so fucking tired. Like I was so tired.
I felt the tiredness. I didn't feel hungover, but I felt the tiredness. Yeah.
Like, no, I got up at like 8:45 and I was late. Like I had to get up at like 8 and I was like, you got me fucked up.
Thank you for rallying.
And I was late to work for sure.